if it feels off for you and you're probably wondering why I'm sharing, maybe it's not relatable to you, I don't know. I just feel like I want to share this part of like whatever is in this video. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm pleased to have you here. My name is Chifa. If you're new here and it's your first time stumbling upon this video, please consider joining the family. And to my returning subscribers, I'm very pleased with you. I'm very grateful. Thank you for always coming back and watching my videos, supporting me, leaving me wonderful comments. It doesn't go unnoticed. It's something that's really hard for me, and I believe, I don't want to say maybe for you, or I just find that it's hard to talk about, and because of so many things, maybe shame, maybe fear, and I just find it's hard. Even me sitting here and recording this video is hard because I just feel in my stomach already. I just feel like, are you sure you want to put this out? But if it can help anyone out there, maybe you're feeling something and you probably don't know what it's called, or if I can shed some light on it and it soothes you in a way, or I don't know, I just feel like it can help in a way, just knowing and naming something that's maybe been bothering you, or it gives you power in a way. So I'm not an expert in any way, and I'm still learning. I'm on a journey as well. I'm learning and learning. So what I'm essentially talking about is something called vulnerability. And of course, like, vulnerable people are, when you go to the dictionary, it's people who are old, elderly, people with injuries and all of that. But the vulnerability that I'm talking about, and you'll even feel in my voice that terrified, not like terrified like I'm scared, but it's like something is pulling me. Are you sure you want to talk about this? Is it your place to even talk about this? You know, that imposter syndrome? Yeah, I have that a lot. I don't know, like, do you even deserve to be here? Do you deserve this platform to be here? And you're talking about these things. Have you had enough experience with this? You know, that whole imposter syndrome kicks in. And then the fact that you don't want to be ashamed and basically, like, you know, judged or criticized, whatever the case. So earlier, I think this week, I put out a video about my side hustle. So that right there was me being vulnerable, and because it's my first side hustle, I feel like I've never really, up until my age right now, I've never really had you know, a side income or something like that. It was like a job, and when putting that out there, actually it's my side hustle, and then my sisters, and then my mom's. So me putting myself out there for the world to see, and, you know, for people to recommend, because I did put it out there for, you know, someone, if, you know, they want maybe a tailor, maybe they want dresses, maybe they want women's clothing, to reach out. You know, I mean, that's how you basically connect and build networks, right? So I'm like, even recording it, the thought came in my mind, and then I was like, nah. But then I was like, but no one will know, you know? Anyway, so I'm going to talk about vulnerability in my eyes, in the eyes of people that I think have more knowledge than I have, and in the eyes of, say, the people I live with, like my partner, and maybe also probe to get what your opinion is on vulnerability. Is it bad? Do you think it's good? Has it helped you in a way? Have you even experienced it? So that is what this video is all about. So before you click out of the video, please take time to actually watch the entire video before you click out of it and you're like, yeah, this is bullshit, this is not for me. I feel like I've dedicated some time to actually film this video, so many emotions and everything. So I'll share some personal stories and some knowledge, like resources that you can maybe use to equip yourself better with, everything that involves vulnerability, like for you to be able to digest this concept on your own and understand it for yourself. Because these are my opinions, this is what I understand by being vulnerable, my experiences, and yeah, basically this is all me. And then parts of people that I have been following and how they've been sharing their life's experience with vulnerability. Companies that mine gold, mine minerals, for example, you'll find that most of the time when they say we are going to mine, let's say in Masaka, maybe they say a given area, they think gold is there. They mine and maybe they find less than they would have expected. They don't end there. They still continue looking. They risk everything basically to mine the gold that is in that place. According to their research, they did some research and then they found out rather that place has gold. So whatever they find, they will take. Whether they find or not, maybe they find something else. It won't stop them from making another research to find another place to also mine the gold. And like more than 50% of the places they choose to mine, they probably is not equivalent to the cost of what they put, like the cost of the materials they deploy for mining this gold. Like it doesn't equal, but the mineral is really precious, right? So they will still continue mining no matter what. Like they will look for other places basically. So these companies are vulnerable in a way that they risk everything. Okay, not everything. They risk a whole lot to just mine, maybe some gold, or it could be a whole, it could be another mineral. You go in for gold and you find copper. So they've risked this entire budget just so they could find copper instead of gold. But they don't stop there. They're not going to be like, okay, we're done looking for gold. No. So I'm going to share about 3 or 2 stories where I feel like I was vulnerable, and one I didn't want to be vulnerable. I tried to hammer up, as is our brain. We are naturally we are beings that are going to protect ourselves. Like our brain is programmed to protect us. So I have a friend, just met them anyway, so they were asking me about stuff and I was like, yeah, I know that, I was putting in words, trying to fill up the gaps, and they were like, it's not that. You don't know what I'm talking about. Once you study and know it, then you can start talking about it. So I remember feeling like, I kind of felt ashamed. And that was initially what I was, trying to prevent myself from feeling by trying to fill in the words. So we're talking about, I don't even really remember, but it was something along the lines of website development and everything. So because it's been some time, so I know all of these languages, so the programming languages, so I was trying to, fill in the gaps and everything, look over cool, I don't know. Anyway, I was trying to be impressing them, maybe to, have confidence in me that I know these things, I know my way around, so for them to, eventually hire me, or, not think of me as, oh, no, it needs a whole lot of polishing, So they caught my BS and they were like, nah, you don't know this. But once, they advised me, like, you should study, and once you know these things, this is how it will work. The other story I can think of is so once I came back, like, to Kampala, because you've been out, like, out of the country, so it's been long. You haven't prepared matoke, you haven't prepared so many local dishes, So I came home, and then when I started living with my partner, cooking, God blessed. Okay, don't really bless him. Yeah, he's blessed with. He has those culinary skills. Essentially, he's a chef, not one that has gone to school anyway. So he knows how to cook. He's a good cook. Can vouch for him. So I didn't know how to cook. Okay, like, I knew, but every time I cooked, my meals were, and bit by bit, I was, feeling insecure, and I'm like, okay, I don't know how to, do this. Like, it's like I had lost my mojo. But then, even the meals that I felt like I could cook best, for example, my favorite meal is matoke and brown nuts. I couldn't nail it. It was so sad. One time I prepared us a meal, and the matoke were white. And if you're Ugandan and matoke, when you serve and the matoke are white, I mean, shame on me. Anyway, I felt shame. I felt inadequate. Like, I felt vulnerable, like, in a way that I kind of didn't want to come out and tell him, you know what, I don't know how to cook. Maybe, what can we do? Like, talk about it with him. I just kept to myself, and when finally I got to talk to him about it, and then, like, okay, it was as simple as, okay, let's prepare one together, and I'll show you one. Like, I'll show you the steps you take, and that I'm cooking those meals that are decent, And if you haven't watched that video, by the way, the chicken butter, I don't remember the title, but I'll leave the link in the description box. That chicken butter sauce recipe, the one who taught me that recipe is bomb, delicious, to the bone. Yeah, you should watch it, and maybe one day prepare it in your house. So someone special told me vulnerability is almost like loading a gun and handing it over to someone and trusting in your heart of hearts that they're not going to shoot you down. Like, it's you exposing your emotions, your weakness, you opening up and trusting that someone is not going to exploit any of that. At least that is what it means to me, and that, I feel like, is invaluable. And if someone opens up to you like that, friend, sister, spouse, you name it, all the people in our lives, I feel like you treasure that more than anything, because that is going to bring you guys closer. First of all, it's going to tighten your bond. Because, come on, like, the hardest thing is exposing yourself. I was having this vulnerability conversation with my partner, and we're brainstorming and sharing ideas. So when I asked him when he's ever been vulnerable, or a story that I could share with you on here, he told me at work, like, there was a new intern that, like, he was the senior. So in a way, the intern was not doing the work as he had wanted them to do. So he was frustrated earlier because maybe the boss or whoever was above him was asking for this work or something, and then the intern was not doing it correct. So out of the blue, he kind of, like, he shouted at the intern, and the intern became teary. So for him to feel safe, for him to be able to step into the intern shoes, to be able to feel empathetic towards them, he had to be vulnerable and talk about a situation with them in which a situation that was sort of similar that he had been through in the past. And that was like, he opened up this intern and he allowed himself to be vulnerable. And in a way, it helped the other party because they were able to forgive them there and then, and today they're actually very good friends. So let me first talk about how vulnerability can also be really bad. Imagine you're sharing all of this with someone. You have no idea whether they actually won't share whatever you're sharing with them. You don't know if they will use it, and then you wake up and they use this against you. The betrayal, the mistrust that you develop afterwards. So that feeling, that gut-wrenching feeling that, oh my God, you did this. I don't know, like when I, because if you've ever been vulnerable and maybe exposed by someone, you're vulnerable maybe with a person who didn't deserve that, you kind of can feel that feeling afterwards when someone has gone above and beyond to share whatever you shared with them in confidence, in hoping that they'll never use it in any way. So why, if it's a risk, by the way, why should we actually feel, be vulnerable with people? Why should we be vulnerable with our partners? Why should we be vulnerable with our kids, our sisters, our mothers, all the people in our lives? Why? Is it worth it? Can you love without trusting someone? Why? Why do you find yourself being vulnerable? I'm not saying go be vulnerable with everyone. Wherever you find a stranger, whatever, even the company that mines gold, they do their research to make sure that there's gold there. So maybe you're out on your first date and you're already pouring your heart out like that. You're telling them about your mom, your friends and everything. You're sharing all of that in one date. First of all, you're overwhelming the other party. And then I feel like you're sharing so much in one time and it's not easy to digest. Besides, you haven't really gotten to know the other person. You haven't gotten to establish that, they're a person that you can actually trust to be vulnerable with. So what I'm trying to encourage you to do is have a few people that you can be vulnerable with. Don't close yourself off completely, because from what I have learned from there is a lady called Brene Brown. She's an author. She talks about vulnerability in vulnerability being uncertainty, risk, emotional exposure. And if you have time, you can actually, there are many YouTube videos about her talking about vulnerability and all of that. But there is one video in which she said, you cannot talk about love. She said love, you cannot talk about empathy, you cannot talk about creativity, innovation without talking about vulnerability. Imagine, like the example of my partner, he had to be vulnerable for him to be able to feel empathetic towards this person that was going through something, there's no way you can create a product, you cannot be that creative without being vulnerable, in a way that, for example, look at most startups. They come from a place of, like they have stories to them of when they were actually going through a trying time and everything. So you cannot talk about all of those things and not have vulnerability in them. So it's an integral part of life. It's something that you don't or you shouldn't ignore or like be like, yeah, that's not me. If you close yourself off and you don't want to be vulnerable, honestly, I feel like you're just going to be cold. The type of person who is going to be like, you can't relate, you can't feel, And like I say, it's not every person that deserves to be vulnerable with. Of course, you're going to pick a few. You're going to do your research, and then, you can be vulnerable with this one person or two. So I'm going to share a book that I feel like you need to read. It's about, it's by Brene Brown. It's called Daring Greatly. And it's a good read. You'll find it really resourceful. I find that naming, one thing that can probably help with you're struggling with being vulnerable, one thing that would help with whoever you want to be vulnerable with, maybe your sister or your mom, is naming the thing that makes you afraid. For example, for me, it was my cooking. I brought it up and I was like, you know what? Terrible chef. I feel terrible about this. And how can we change this? There is power in naming whatever is, bothering you, or whatever you're feeling that is that you don't know entirely, but when you get to know, you're like, oh, so this is it. Okay, how can I go about this? Another thing is, yes, I'm giving advice on how maybe you can be, but most of the time it's natural. Like maybe you can practice, and later on it can become natural to you. It can just come, as is, because maybe you're familiar with this person, maybe you have learned them, you know them. So yeah. So that's it for today's video, and I'm going to close off with a quote that says, vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. That's scary. But again, be scared and do it anyway. But of course, with a caution. Yeah. So that's it from me, guys. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you for watching, and please go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Like, comment, leave me a comment on if you'd love to share your vulnerability story or when you were vulnerable. Please go ahead and comment down below. If not, just leave me maybe a hi or I don't know, a heart. Yeah. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.